Okay, so in the last video, I said that we would add a category selector. So the first thing I did, and like I said, I was doing this between videos so you don't have to see a whole lot of typing. In the text control, you have to add the new questions. So in this case, I chose algebra. So between quotes, separated by commas, I put in little algebra equations. Because it's in quotes, it won't actually do the calculation for you. There are times where you'll put calculations into a command and it will perform the calculation for you. This won't because it's in quotes and it's being treated as a string. Likewise, you then have to extend the correct answer list to include the new correct answers. You really don't need to see me type that out. You can put in your own questions and you can choose which ones you want to be correct. So that's why I did it between videos. It probably was a solid 20 minutes of just typing. So just as I had to put in the correct questions and the correct answer number, I then had to also go in and put in the correct answers as well as the incorrect answers. So I had to extend each one by 5 more values. Okay, so what do we do now? Now we need to create what's known as a second scene. So if you haven't already, go up to File, choose Save Scene, and what's going to happen is you're going to get a typical dialog window asking you to name the file, and then you'll save it. When you do, you'll see this appear down here. So this is what's known as a scene. Unity breaks up projects into scenes, and the quickest way I can think of summarizing a scene would be, say, in an old school side-scrolling game, a scene would be a level. So like say it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and one level you're in a town, next level you're on a beach, next level you're in a building. Each one of those levels would be its own scene. So it's basically a collection of related functions. So each one of those would be a scene. Other things can be a scene as well. In our case, the main menu will be a scene, and that's probably true for most games as well that use Unity. Not all games break up into scenes. Like if you have an open world game, there really isn't a distinct scene necessarily. In fact, a lot of those are built on proprietary engines and are not in Unity. You can indeed use Unity for that, but I'm just trying to give you, the most common example would be, a scene would be a level. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a second scene and then refer to this one. So we'll go to File, we go to New Scene, and in this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a few more of those text mesh objects. So create empty, and we'll call this select text, add component, mesh, text mesh. Let's see, and we'll call this category select. Shrink the character size. Make this a little bit larger than the other text, and it will be Arial. Now, some have mentioned to me, they're like, well, why don't you use the built-in GUI? Why are you using text meshes? Honest answer, I haven't learned how to use the GUI yet. So there are GUI objects that you can create, the UI objects. I just haven't taught myself how to use that yet. They have not removed this function from the game, so it's perfectly legit to use these. Okay, so there's our title. We can just run this. Now we need to actually start choosing categories. So let's copy this, paste it. We'll call this capitals. In this case, the name of the object is going to match the text. Doesn't have to, but Seems kind of common sense in this case. And you just slide that down. Add physics. Oops, sorry. We're in the 2D environment. Physics 2D. If you're in the 3D environment, there'd just be physics. Box collider. Trigger. Copy. Paste. We'll call this one algebra. Slide that down. Algebra. Okay, so now what we need to do is now we need to add a script. And just so you know, scripts can be used in multiple scenes. It's just this is different from anything else we've used at this point. So we'll call this select cat. And then we'll click on the two objects and drag and drop select cat onto it and then open it up. And void on mouse down again. It's case sensitive. And what we need to do here is we need to create a new static variable that will be transferred to the other scene. So public we'll call this public static string. You could use a number if you want, but again, we're not manipulating the number, so string is fine. And we'll call this cat number, cat topic. Kind of redundant category topic, but now one of the benefits of doing this is we can just drop the name of the object into this variable. So in the on mouse down, cat topic is equal to GameObject.name. In other words, this script is attached to multiple objects. You have clicked on one of them. The name of the one that you have clicked on, because it's in the on mouse down section, will get dropped into this category. So that means that this is now equal to either capitals or algebra. And we'll save that. So now we just have to have the random range make a decision based upon that. So what we can do is we just create one more variable that says public int, and we'll call this cat mod, short for category modifier, and by default it'll be set to 0. Now what we can do is in the start section, let's get rid of this, we definitely don't need it anymore, and we can get rid of this since we know what void is used for. Just clean it up a little bit. In the start section, so what's going to happen is the other scene runs, you make your selection, and it loads this scene. So when this scene gets loaded, the start will happen first. So that's where we're going to make a change. So what we're going to do is if selected cat dot cat topic equals double equal sign. Let's do algebra first just to make sure it's working. Then the new cat mod is going to be equal to 5. The reason why is this will get modified. So rather than doing 0 to 5, it will do 0 plus cat mod to 5 plus cat mod. So what's happening is if what we'll do is we're going to do another one that says if it's equal to capitals, then cat mod equals 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 0 is 0. So it would still would result in the original range. Now it's going to do 5 to 10. And that's only if you have 5 questions. You're probably going to have many more questions than that, so you just have to increase that range accordingly. I think that should be all that it takes. Actually, almost. Now we just need to load the scenes into the project. So save this scene. So save scene equals, we'll call this main menu. And then we have to go up to File, we have to go to Build Settings, and now you just have to drag and drop these 2 scenes up there. And the last thing is we need to get from this scene to this scene. To do that, we need to put a statement that on mouse down, okay, you've selected the topic, but now go ahead and load the other one. So we have to make a modification up here first. So Unity engine.scene management, and then in here, you will now have access to scene manager dot load scene, and then just the name of the scene, which I believe is called quiz. So scene manager dot load scene quiz. If you're using an earlier version of Unity, not sure why you'd still be at this point, but if you're still using Unity 4, this would not be scene manager. You wouldn't have to do that, and it wouldn't be load scene. It would actually be load level. So the old code actually kind of tipped their hand that a scene is a level because it used to actually be called load level. Now I think that should do it. Okay, so we're in the main menu. We're going to click on algebra. And sure enough, it's doing algebra question. And it's showing you the choices. So in this case, 24x plus 2 equals 14. So this should be 0.5. So 12 plus 2 is 14. So it should be that. Correct. Click next instance. In fact, this next always works. So you can just like cycle through and you can see that indeed it is just doing the algebra. So now that just leaves coming back to the text control. Copy and paste this. And set this one to capitals. Again, needs to exactly match this because you're looking at the name of the object. And cat mod in that case would be 0. And now it's running through the capitals. So just like I said at the end of the last video, it's that easy. You just have to create a scene where you're selecting the topic. And then as far as functionally, all you're doing is you're just modifying the range in which the random range is being calculated, is being drawn from, which means that these have to be grouped in similar categories. So you have to keep all the algebra together, you have to keep all the capitals together, or whatever topics you're using. So that covers the major topics. I might do 1 or 2 more videos if you guys have any requests, like maybe you kind of want some flourishes like when you point at text, it becomes larger and turns green. You know, sometimes you see things like that in menus, that when you point at text, there's some indicator that yes, you are indeed pointing at that one. Um, or maybe a little arrow appears next to it, a little box selector appears next to it. So maybe I'll do one more to do some of those flourishes, but functionally, that's about it. You know, if you want more categories, you just add another object. Um, there's more data entry, of course, because you have to actually create, the questions and the answers for that topic. But it's just rinse and repeat of what we've done up to this point. So that should do it.